Hello everyone, I'm here again today with yet another Black and White 2, I guess you could call this a discussion video. It's not a battle, and it's not really speculation. Well, yeah, actually it is pretty much speculation, so I guess you can call this another Black and White 2 speculation video. And this one is about two somewhat different topics, yet somewhat similar, and these are Genesect and Gothitelle, because both of those were released a couple days ago. I mean, Gothitelle's been out, obviously, since the beginning of Black and White, but Gothitelle's Dream World ability was released, and I'll get to that in a moment. I think I'll talk about Genesect first. This is kind of a spontaneous improvisation video, so if I mess up a lot, if I kind of stutter, you know, I'm doing this in one take, so I just thought it would be something cool to talk about, or both of these things would be cool to talk about, rather. So I guess we'll start with Genesect. So Genesect was released, you know, like I said, a couple days ago, and that means it's usable now in OU. It's starting out in the OU tier, and I think from then, you know, they'll get usage statistics throughout the month, which is pretty interesting because last month, or at the beginning of this month, they released the usage statistics for Black and White 2 for the month of July, which was the first month that all Black and White 2 Pokemon that have been released up to this point were usable in the metagame, including, you know, Keldeo, Tornadus T, Thundurus T, etc. And it looked pretty interesting because Tornadus T, as expected, all three of the Therian forms were up there in usage. And another interesting thing is Mamoswine was also up there in usage as well, which is great because Mamoswine is a great check to all three of those. So I think Mamoswine, as long as those things are getting a lot of usage, Mamoswine is going to be getting a lot of usage as well. Politoed was number 1. Which, sorry, I'm kind of going into a tangent of the usage statistics, but I meant to do a video of this anyways. I just kind of didn't take the time to do it, so I guess I'm kind of doing it now. But anyways, Politoed was number 1, which very much shows how much of an impact these new Pokemon are having on the metagame, because obviously, you know, Keldeo, Tornadus T, and Thundurus T all abuse the rain very, very nicely. So that shows right there how much Politoed has increased in usage, and I think a lot of prominent things, such as Terrakion, if I'm correct, actually dropped a little bit in usage. So obviously Terrakion's an amazing Pokemon in OU, but to see it actually drop really shows what's kind of going to happen with the metagame. I'm not going to say Terrakion's going to drop a lot, there's probably not a chance it will, but what I'm saying is that these three Pokemon are definitely going to have an impact on the metagame no matter what. So over the next couple months, we'll see really how much of an impact they're going to have and how much things are going to change. So I'm really excited to see that. Obviously, Rain's probably going to stay dominant. Sand is still as effective as ever. I mean, Landorus T is now pretty damn good. And then, you know, Landorus I is still great, Terrakion's still amazing, Tyranitar's still great, so there's still those solid Rain Pokemon, and then Gliscor got much better with Black and White 2 as well, because it now has Stealth Rock and Roost with Poison Heal, so that's just amazing. But overall, I think that, at least for this next month, people are going to continue to use Rain as the premier weather, because of the fact that people are still excited about Tornadus T, Thundurus T, Keldeo. They're still very fresh, and they're still all very, very good. So there's really no reason not to use them. So yeah, I think we'll just see how that develops over the next month or two. In 2 months is when they'll change the tiers again, I think, or is it 1 month? Either way, within a month or two, they're going to update the tiers once more. So from there, we'll see what's moved up to OU, what's moved down to UU, because of these threats. So that's a very interesting thing to anticipate. Anyways, let's move on to the point of this video, the main point of this video, which is Genesect and Gothitelle. So I'm going to talk about Genesect first. And Genesect is a Pokemon when Black and White was first released, you know, when it was kind of the really, really rough metagame, when pretty much everything was usable in OU, which was a complete disaster because Shaman S and Darkrai were actually usable in OU, or they were actually allowed to be used. Obviously they were quickly banned, but, you know, Genesect was one of the things that was available in OU at the time, and obviously this is a long, long time ago, probably a little more than a year ago. And Genesect, a lot of people were using it. It was a great Pokemon. I used it a little bit as well, and it just has so much great versatility. It's just excellent, and I guess we'll just start getting into it now. So for those of you who don't know, I'll go over the basics of it first, but I'm sure many of you do know. It is a bug and steel type, similar to Scizor, Fortress, Excavalier, etc. And I think the one Pokemon it's going to be compared to the most is Scizor, because it's kind of like a special version of Scizor. It's bug and steel, as I said. Its stats are very good. It's very, very balanced in its stats. It has 71 HP, which is not that great, obviously. But then its defenses are actually 95 in both. It has 95 defense and special defense, which means even with no investment, it's going to be able to take hits very, very well. I can't think of Scizor's HP off the top of my head, although I think it's about 70 or 80. Probably in between there, 70, 80-ish. And its defense, Scizor's defense is about, I think, 100, and its special defense is about 90. So looking at it from that perspective, Genesect's defensive stats are actually very similar to Scizor's, meaning it can probably take some of the same hits Scizor can because of its identical typing and very similar defensive spread. So that's something that's very interesting to consider. So Genesect is not going to be a frail Pokemon by any means. I guess anything that's pretty much a sweeper that doesn't have any HP investment can be considered frail, but Genesect will definitely be taking a lot of neutral unboosted and definitely a lot of resisted hits. So that's something to look forward to, as when you look at its offensive stats and its typing and its move pool. When you look at all the other factors, Genesect comes clear as an offensive Pokemon. No matter what you say, its move pool leans toward that. Its offensive stats lean toward that, its ability leans toward that, and even its typing. But what we have here is 120 in both offensive stats, in both attack and special attack, which is really good, obviously. That's on par with, in OU, what's that on par with? Obviously, a lot of things in OU have higher special attack than that, but the fact that it has both attack and special attack as equal 120 is really, really good, because obviously that means it's going to be able to hit hard from both sides. And it has 99 base speed, which is not the best speed at all. That's not a very good speed, but given all of its other stats, it kind of makes up for it. It's going to be faster than things like Hydreigon, Haxorus, neither of which is very, very popular, but they're still, viable, they're still good. So to outspeed those things is great. It's 1 point lower than the base 100 speed, which is kind of like the most average speed tier in OU at the moment, because of the fact that it's good, but at the same time there's so many other things in OU, so many other offensive things in OU that outspeed that. So its speed is not going to be winning it any awards, but at the same time, when you look at everything else, it's really optimized as a choice scarf user. Genesect is. It does get 1 or 2 boosting moves, but the only thing that those boost is speed, which is good, definitely good, but I'll get to that in a minute. And its ability is also something that really shows that it's optimized as an attacker, mainly as a choice holder, and that is its ability is download, which is, I think, only exclusive to Porygon and Porygon 2 at the moment, and I think the Porygon family. And what it does is, when you send it in against an opposing Pokemon, if the opposing Pokemon's defense is higher than its special defense, then Genesect gets a special attack boost. If the opposing Pokemon's special defense is higher than its defense, then Genesect gets an attack boost. The way you can look at it like that is Genesect's respective stat to the opponent's weaker defense will raise, if that makes sense. So if the Pokemon is weaker on the defensive side, Genesect will get more attack to be able to, pretty much plow through that weaker defense, etc. So that's definitely a really, really good ability, assuming, first of all, it's a bug typing, second of all, it has great offensive stats, and third of all, it gets U-turn, which is a physical bug type move, meaning it gets stab on U-turn, and with that great attack stat, it's really deadly as a choice scarf abuser, because secondly, it has a great special attack stat, and it has an amazing special move pool with really just perfect coverage. So when you put all that together, you have something that can optimize U-turn, and can optimize probably about 3 more special attacking moves. And no matter what you send it in on, it's gonna pretty much put the hurt on it because it can cover just about every typing with, just probably just about 3 moves. And because if by any chance you send it in on something that's going to boost its attack, its U-turn will still be boosted, so it can still abuse that. So, that's just great. It's really an amazing, it's probably the best abuser of download to date, in my opinion. I mean, I love Porygon Z, but if Porygon Z gets an attack boost, it's pretty much useless. It pretty much can't do anything with it. Well, okay, Porygon Z isn't useless, but if it gets an attack boost, it's not going to use it for anything. Porygon Z will never use its attack stat. Genesect, on the other hand, can use its attack stat, so it can take advantage of both situations, either getting an attack boost or a special attack boost from download, and it can pretty much sweep or, switch out from there. So those are all the main kind of stats of Genesect. And when you look at its move pool a little further in, it has the stab bug type move, which is Bug Buzz, and then it has, for coverage, it has Thunderbolt, Thunder if you're running it in Rain, I guess, and then it has Flamethrower and Ice Beam. And really, I think that's probably all it needs, because those moves alone will pretty much cover everything. I mean, obviously something like Lantern can resist all of those moves, but it can't resist Bug Buzz. The problem then becomes, if you're running a Choice Scarf set, you're gonna be running U-turn. You're probably going to want to run Bug Buzz for, stab coverage, and then you have the 2 choice between Flamethrower, Thunderbolt, and Ice Beam. I mean, you could go U-turn and then Flamethrower, Thunderbolt, and Ice Beam, and that would pretty much cover you for everything. But personally, I usually like to run Bug Buzz just for that stab, but, it's your choice. You have plenty of good coverage options for Genesect, and you can, put together your team to cover everything that Genesect does not cover. So, that's always good. As far as its effect on the metagame will be, I think Genesect will become one of the top threats, for sure, at least. Probably top 10. It's definitely worthy of it. Like I said, it's pretty much like a special Scizor. It doesn't have any priority moves, but its typing and its stats are just pretty much similar to Scizor's, and it's kind of a little better than Scizor because it's more versatile in that it has that special attack stat. And Scizor and Genesect can run as pretty good offensive partners, offensive synergy partners, because of the fact that, Scizor can plow through a lot of things with its power, and Genesect can plow through a lot of things with its coverage and also its power from the special side, which means, Scizor isn't really able to take out a lot of physically defensive threats, but Genesect can come in and, kind of handle them itself. So those two together will be great pairs. There is also speculation that Genesect can be banned to Ubers, and I definitely see that. I mean, I definitely see, first of all, it can be definitely viable in Ubers because of its amazing coverage and its typing and all that. But will it actually be banned straight to Ubers? It might take some time, but it's definitely going to be a very, very prominent threat in the coming metagame, which is why it's kind of interesting that Genesect came out around this time, which is pretty much, like I said, a month after, Thundurus T, Tornadus T, and Keldeo were released. And so now, after those things made an impact on the metagame, now here comes Genesect with another chance to make completely different impact. I don't know if Genesect will shift things as much as those things did, but Genesect is definitely going to be a star Pokemon. Just be on the lookout for Genesect, because it's going to be great. You should definitely use it. It's, like I said, it's very versatile. It's pretty much usable on any type of team, because it can pretty much it can fill almost any offensive role. And as I mentioned before, it does have 2 boosting options in the forms of Flame Charge and Rock Polish. Flame Charge, probably not the best bet, especially when you have Rock Polish. So you're probably, if you're going to want to run a sweeper set with Life Orb, you're probably going to want to run Rock Polish to begin with. You could run something like Expert Belt or Life Orb, but Genesect, because of its versatility and its coverage and its demanding presence, will be forcing a lot of switches, so you'll have a lot of opportunities to set up that Rock Polish. And if it's late game, pretty much you can sweep with Genesect very easily by switching out something weakened, setting up a Rock Polish, and then with that great coverage, just plowing through the rest of the team. So, that's definitely something to look out for as well. So, again, be on the lookout for Genesect. There are plenty of sets to use with it. I'm probably going to write a review of it right now, an analysis, and I'll put together some sets that I think are pretty viable. For the most part, Choice Scarf is going to be the most viable, and it's going to be the best set for Genesect, but it's by no means the only set it can run. So, I'll get into that a little more. Okay, so now we'll move on to Gothitelle. Now, Gothitelle, the only reason I'm talking about it, the only reason I feel like it's worthy of being mentioned, is because it was released in black and white, and it wasn't all that good. It has pretty good stats overall, and it's pretty much a typical psychic type, but it was really not. It was completely outclassed by pretty much every other psychic type out there, including especially Reuniclus, even Cresselia for that matter, probably even Celebi, etc. So that it really had nothing over other psychic types. However, with the release of its recent Dreamworld ability, Shadow Tag, it just becomes much, much better, and it gains that niche over pretty much every other psychic type out there. So, why this is important, obviously if you don't know, Shadow Tag prevents the opponent from switching out. So pretty much if you send in Gothitelle against anything, that thing cannot switch out unless it itself has Shadow Tag. So that's the only way to switch out against Shadow Tag, is if you yourself, if both Pokemon have Shadow Tag, they're both able to switch out. If only one has Shadow Tag, the other will not be able to switch out at all. And this is a better ability to Arena Trap from Dugtrio, because Dugtrio's ability Arena Trap prevents Pokemon from switching out, but if they have Levitate or if they're a flying type, then they are able to switch out. So, that's what sets it apart, and that's what makes it better, because everything is trapped. So why is this good on Gothitelle? Well, like I said, it has decent stats, and being a psychic type, a pure psychic type, is both a blessing and a curse nowadays. A blessing definitely because, one, it resists fighting, which is one of the most powerful and one of the most prominent offensive types in any tier. If you look at it, in any tier across the board, there are very good fighting types. You have Terrakion and Lucario in OU, you have Mienshao and Heracross in UU, and then you have something like Gallade in RU, and even Sock in NU. So anytime you are, in any tier you play, you'll run into some very good fighting types. So having a psychic type on board is definitely great, especially if it's choiced, and because psychic types are so powerful and so effective, oftentimes they will be running a choice item, such as Choice Scarf or Choice Band, which gives Gothitelle that edge, because if Gothitelle switches in on one of those fighting types, it's able to trap him, and if they're a choice variant, then they can't switch up moves, so they're going to have to spam their fighting type move of choice until you pretty much kill them. So it sounds like a very situational occurrence, but it can definitely happen if you play right. And now let's look at Gothitelle's stats, because we looked at its typing and we've looked at Shadow Tag in general, but we want to see what we're working with here. Obviously, if it doesn't have the right stats, it's not going to be viable with Shadow Tag. So it has 70 HP, which is pretty much just like Genesect, and that pretty much makes it, like if you see something with just 70 HP, you're not going to look at it twice. However, 95 defense and 110 special defense actually make it obviously way better. Because what that does is that means it can take hits from really any side of the spectrum. With defensive and HP investment, it's really able to take a lot of hits. You can make it run a physical wall set or a special wall set, and you'll be good to go. It also has a 95 special attack. So with all of these things, combined, it makes a really good Calm Mind abuser, Calm Mind sweeper, whatever you want to call it. So, and its speed is 65, which for mainly a defensive Pokemon, is really not even all that bad, because it will outspeed a lot of other, defensive support Pokemon, and that kind of gives it another edge over them. So, stat-wise, it's okay. It's move pool-wise, it's again a pretty typical Psychic type. It has Psychic Stab, it has Shadow Ball, it has Thunderbolt, and it has I think Hidden Power Fire is its Hidden Power Fighting would probably be its other coverage option. Obviously, you can run any Hidden Power you want, but it doesn't. I don't think it gets Focus Blast. Let me check. So, looking at all these factors, No, it does not get focus blast, but it does get energy ball, which is something. It gets charge beam if you want to go that route, kind of gimmicky. But what this means is that Shadow Tag with all those stats and that decent stats and that decent move pool means that it's definitely, no doubt going to improve Gothitelle. Now I can't say it's going to move up quite a lot because of it, but I can say that it will move up regardless. It's probably not going to be staying in NU for much longer because of the fact that NU is kind of like the funner, kind of tier for all the weaker stuff. And obviously Gothitelle will be able to take on a lot of things in NU and pretty much take them out. I've been using Gothitelle, I've been testing it out in NU, and it's pretty deadly, it's pretty amazing. So I think it'll probably very likely be banned from NU. It's probably viable in RU as well. I actually honestly did try it out in OU, and I found that it wasn't as great as I thought it could be. But that's mainly also because I probably wasn't playing it well, and I probably didn't have the best team support with it, but it was just for fun, it was just a test. It did okay, but it didn't do spectacular, so it's probably not going to be hitting OU. It could be usable in OU, but at the same time it's probably not going to be making any game-breaking decisions for you, and it'll be great in a situational sense, but that's just pretty much it in OU. It's only going to be situational. Shadow Tag is still great, its stats are still pretty good with Shadow Tag, and its coverage is there. So one dilemma I encountered was what set could you run with Gothitelle? Obviously with those stats and the typing and the coverage, the first thing you're going to want to think of is going to be Calm Mind. And that does work pretty well. What I tried was Calm Mind Resto, with Rest and Chesto obviously, and then I did Psychic and Hidden Power Fighting for coverage, and it worked well enough. Yeah, I found that I was using Rest a little earlier, or I was being forced to use Rest a little earlier than I would have liked, which means I was forced to use my Chesto Berry a lot earlier than I would have hoped, obviously. And then after that, after I get a few boosts up, then if I use Rest again, I'm asleep for like 3 turns, and then what can you do, So that's kind of a risky set. It can be tailored to perfection. I think it's probably going to be working better in RU and NU, obviously, maybe even UU, but in OU it's probably not the right set. Another set that I found was pretty good, especially with those decent stats like I said, is a Choice Spec set, and it's pretty much going to act as a revenge killer because Shadow Tag will trap anything that's in there. And with the power of Choice Specs and the decent coverage of its moves, it can pretty much, kill off any weakened threat as long as it's able to take a hit. So, obviously Wish support is going to be great with that kind of set. You can run Blissey or something like Alamamola in NU, and I found that works pretty well. So, Choice Specs, Calm Mind, those are probably going to be the 2 most viable options for Gothitelle. You're probably not going to you're probably not going to want to run something like Life Orb set because Life Orb doesn't give it really enough power, and because its offensive stats are only decent, that is pretty much not going to be revenge killing very effectively unless you're revenge killing very, very weakened things. So in my opinion, the best 2 sets are going to be Calm Mind and Choice Specs, but in a larger standpoint, looking at things from a larger scale, Gothitelle will definitely rise in usage, and it will probably move up at least 1 tier, maybe 2, but at least 1. I don't think it's going to be viable in NU. A lot of people, when I was battling on Pokemon Showdown, a lot of people were complaining about it, and they're like, one guy even said he's going to write a petition to ban it from NU, which is kind of a little much right now, but, it was just released a couple days ago. But, obviously that shows how much of an impact it's already having. So expect Gothitelle to be good, to be better than it was before. Expect it to be usable in pretty much every tier. It's pretty viable in every tier, but obviously some tiers it's going to be more effective than others, obviously. So I think that's pretty much all I have to say for now. Hopefully I didn't overstay my talk or over talk you, whatever. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed this video. I'll try to post an analysis on my blog pretty soon. Hopefully about Genesect. No, it will be about Genesect. I'll make sure it's about Genesect. And I hope you all have a good end of the week, and see you very soon. Bye.